Somewhere out there, it is getting dark in a town I've not set foot in for about 20 years. I know roughly what it looks like right now. Weeds everywhere, flowers long dead, my house is still standing, and inside it, cockroaches are crawling over furniture I worked genuinely hard to pay off. And at some point tonight, an animal I used to talk to every single day will walk past my old house and wonder where I went. That is an Animal Crossing save file. Every one of them is still out there, on memory cards, on DS carts, in junk drawers and shoeboxes, frozen mid-afternoon, waiting and lightly judging us. Because Animal Crossing is the only game I know that can make you feel guilty. Not you died again trying to complete a level guilty. Guilty like a house plant you forgot about. You come back after 6 months and the game does not punish you. It just shows you what happened while you were gone. The weeds win, the roaches move in, a villager strolls up and asks where you've been in the exact tone of a grandmother. And it works. It actually stings a little in your heart. Which is kind of insane, because nothing happens in this game. No story, no boss. The closest thing to a villain is a raccoon you owe money to. Your major accomplishments are pulling weeds, catching fish, and mailing letters to a duck. And yet, for a lot of people, me very much included, these fake little towns are real places. I've lived in actual apartments that have left less of an impact on me. And just a quick scope, we're not going to be doing a full history of the series or ranking the games. What I actually want to figure out is the question in the title. Why does a game about nothing, a game that is proudly, deliberately about nothing, feel more like home than games with 1,000 times more content? I think the answer is small and kind of dumb, and I mean that as a compliment. It is built out of chores. The first trick is the clock, and it is the trick everything else stands on. Animal Crossing runs on real time. When it's 9 p.m. at your house, it is 9 p.m. in your town. When it is December, it snows. The shop opens in the morning and closes at night. And if you show up too late, it is closed. And you just stand there in the dark holding your fish. And the town does not pause when you turn the game off. Fruit keeps growing, weeds keep spreading, the animals keep living their lives. Time passes whether you show up or not. And that does not sound radical now. Every modern game has a daily login bonus designed by some casino. But this started in 2001. The first version was a Japanese Nintendo 64 game called Animal Forest. And to make the clock work, Nintendo built a real-time clock into the cartridge itself. It is the only Nintendo 64 cartridge that has one. They invented hardware so that a pretend town full of animals knew what time it was. The version most of us met is the GameCube one from September 2002. Same idea, now running off the console's clock, plus a pile of extra stuff, including playable NES games you could collect as furniture, Balloon Fight, Excite Bike, Donkey Kong, a video game where one of the rewards is a smaller video game setting on the floor of your fake house. In 2002, that was crazy. I played that game into the ground. It got an amount of childhood hours that I refuse to calculate, and the clock quietly changes your whole relationship with the game. You stop asking what to do next because the answer is whatever the town is doing. Saturday night means there's a concert, winter changes the fish, and 11 p.m. on a school night makes the whole town dark and quiet. And being awake in it feels slightly illegal. The game also refused to let you undo anything. If you turned it off without saving, a mole named Mr. Rossetti erupted out of the ground in front of your house and yelled at you. Not a cute warning, a lecture, multiple paragraphs. He got angrier every time you did it, and an entire generation of children got chewed out by a mole just trying to unsell a fish. Nintendo kept that man employed until the Switch era, when autosave arrived, and the director of the series confirmed it in a real interview that Mr. Rossetti had been laid off. Her actual words were, he was laid off from his position. Rest easy, public servant. But the reason the game treats time this seriously turns out to be personal, and I did not learn it until years later. Animal Crossing was created by a Nintendo designer named Katsuya Uguchi, sorry about pronunciation. When he was 21, he moved from Chiba to Kyoto to work at Nintendo, away from his family and every friend he had. And he said straight out that the game came from how lonely that was. He built it around three things: family, friendship, and community. And the reason he cared about those themes was, in his own words, a result of being so lonely when he arrived in Kyoto. He also worked late. His kids played games after school. He played at night. They were never playing together. So he wanted a game where people who are never in the room at the same time could still live in the same place. The kids play in the afternoon, dad plays at midnight, same town. You find each other's letters, you notice somebody paid off a chunk of the mortgage while you were at school. A game you cannot pause so that a family could share it. So when people call Animal Crossing cozy, I get it, but I think it undersells what is happening. This game is not cozy the way a candle is cozy. A homesick guy built it on purpose to feel like the thing he was missing. Here's what a normal session of Animal Crossing looks like. You wake up, you check the mail, then it is the same loop as always. Past the same houses, down to the beach, shake a few trees, dig up whatever fossils appeared overnight, pull some weeds, say hi to whoever is out, maybe fish for a while. Then you sell everything to a raccoon and go to bed. That is the game. I have just described the entire game to you. And I want to be honest about what that list is, because in any other game, that list is the bad part. Those are fetch quests. That is the filler between the real content. Somehow Nintendo took the part of games everybody complains about and made it the whole game, and it worked. Part of why it works is that the chores are small and they actually finish. You can do the full loop in 20 minutes. Real life does not hand out 20-minute versions of being a responsible person, but this game does, every single day. Part of it is that the chores are just kind of ridiculous. The ground refills with dinosaur bones every night, which raises so many questions. Some trees contain money, some trees contain bees, which will chase you down and leave your face looking like a thumb. And then the villagers comment on it, because of course they do. And your mom writes you letters, real letters in the mail from your unseen mom back home, checking in on you. They are weirdly touching, and I was not prepared for that. But mostly, I think the chores work because repetition is how places get into you. You do not remember your childhood home because dramatic things happen there. You remember it because you walked the hallway 10,000 times and you know exactly where the floor creaks. That knowledge was not fun to acquire. It is just what living somewhere is. Animal Crossing figured out how to bottle that. The daily loop is boring on paper, and it is exactly the kind of boring that turns a map into a place. After a month, you don't think about where the museum is, your feet know. The reward for doing your chores is more chores tomorrow. I understand how bad that sounds. I kept showing up anyway though. Every hour, on the hour, the music changes. Not the whole soundtrack swapping out, just a new little loop for the new hour. Some hours bright and busy, some barely there at all. Every mainline game does this. Around the clock, the town quietly re-scores itself. None of it is trying to be epic. Animal Crossing music does not build, it putters. It is a couple of instruments noodling around while you pull weeds. And it might be some of the most effective music Nintendo has ever made, because it glues itself to the hour. The 5 p.m. music does not just sound nice, it sounds like 5 p.m. Golden light, day winding down, homework you are not doing. I could not hum most of these songs on command, but play me the right hour and my whole body knows where I am. And then there is Saturday night. Every Saturday night, a dog named KK Slider shows up and plays music. In the GameCube game, he sits on a wooden crate outside the train station from 8 until midnight. Later games move him into the cafe, then into his own little club, and in New Horizons, he plays the plaza. Different decades, same dog, same night of the week. You sit down, you request a song, and he plays it. Afterward, he slips a free copy into your pocket. He performs weekly, charges nothing, and gives away the recordings. This is why he's sitting on a crate. He doesn't know how to make money. But that little concert is doing the clock trick again. In its warmest form, KK is not a menu you open. He's an appointment. It has to actually be Saturday night, both in the game and in your life. So you plan your real evening around a cartoon dog, and it feels completely natural. And the song plays over the credits of a week. Even the doors are in on it. You can compose a little melody for your town, and the town commits to it. Every door chime, every villager greeting, your dumb little tune, the whole place hums something you wrote. The town runs on the whole calendar. When it snows where you live, it is snowing in your town. Spring shows up and the trees go green again. In the summer, the place is loud of cicadas, and in the fall, the whole map turns orange and the wind sounds different. I need to stress how strange that was as a kid. Games did not do weather that meant anything. And then one December morning, you turn on the GameCube and the town is white. First snow in the game, the same week as the first snow outside your window. The two worlds sync up, and some little kid part of your brain quietly decides the town is real. The fish and bugs turn over with the months too. Some of them show up for a few weeks a year and leave like tourists. Miss them, and the museum has a hole in it until next year. Not next playthrough, next actual year of your life. And the town throws events the same way a real town does. Fireworks in the summer, everybody gathered by the water, fishing contests, a whole gift-giving day in late December. Because of course this game has its own Christmas. None of it waits for you. That is the part that gets me. A normal game holds its content politely frozen until you arrive. Animal Crossing just has its year, and then you're either there for the fireworks or you hear about them afterward. Which sounds harsh, but it is the exact opposite. Things you cannot pause are the things that feel real. Nobody ever felt nostalgia for a menu that could open whenever they wanted, but a snowfall you had to be there for, a summer festival you almost missed. The game manufactures this sense of fear of missing out that is kind of hard to describe. And after you've been through a full year of it, seen the same beach in January and July, watched the trees cycle all the way around, the place stops feeling like software. Software does not have season. Now we need to talk about the villagers. And I need to start with something that newer games have quietly buried. In the 2002 game, the villagers were mean. Not edgy, mean like actual neighbors. If you pestered a cranky villager too many times, you got lines like, "I've got no use for you. Come back when you are not so annoying." And if you kept pushing, you got some like, "You're a pest, a brat, now go away." One of them tells you to dry up and blow away. A children's game published by Nintendo with a duck in it that is sick of you. And over the years, that got sanded down. Modern villagers are lovely and supportive and tell you your outfit is amazing, which is fine. But I miss that rude era because the rudeness was doing something important. It made the animals feel like real neighbors instead of just like your cheerleaders. A neighbor is somebody who does not have to like you. They have their own schedule, their own mood, their own opinion of you that can actually move. Winning over a cranky villager in the GameCube game felt like an achievement because he genuinely seemed like he preferred to be left alone. They kept track of you too, skip the game for a few weeks, and they do not pretend nothing happened. They ask you where you've been. They notice a new shirt, they send you passive-aggressive mail, somebody wants their shovels back. And then, sometimes, they leave. Villagers move away. Sometimes you talk them out of it, and sometimes you're not there to. And you come back, and there is just a gap in the neighborhood where somebody used to be, and a letter if you are lucky. This is the detail I would defend the hardest. Animal Crossing invented a way to miss someone who is a duck. I will not pretend I remember every villager I lived with, but 2 or 3 of them, if they walked across the screen right now, would get a real emotional reaction out of me. That is a strange power for a cartoon penguin to have, and the game earns it the slowest way possible. Small talk every day for months. Which is, come to think of it, exactly how it works with real neighbors. Quick example of how patient this game is willing to be, because I think about this bird a lot. Starting with Wild World, there is a cafe in the museum basement called The Roost. It is run by a pigeon named Brewster. And the entire thing you can do there is buy a cup of coffee for 200 bells and drink it at the counter slowly. There is no skip button on the coffee scene. That is the whole feature. A coffee break in a video game where the coffee is not even real. But when you first meet Brewster, he barely talks to you. He's polite in a way that makes it clear that you're a customer and not a friend. And then if you come back, not once, but day after day, he starts to loosen up. He talks a little more. Eventually, if you've been a regular for long enough, he offers to put pigeon milk in your coffee, which is a sentence I've decided not to investigate. Same as the fossil stuff. By New Leaf, he will just ask if you want your usual. Your usual from the pigeon, because you have been coming in long enough to have a usual. No quest marker sent you there, the coffee does nothing. The only thing the roost serves is the feeling of being a regular somewhere. Walking into a place where the guy behind the counter knows you. Because you showed up 100 separate times, and he was always there. It is the only game that ever made me loyal to a cafe that just does not exist. Every town starts with one kind of fruit. That fruit is worth 100 bells. Any fruit your town did not start with is worth 500. That one line of math is responsible for a measurable percentage of my childhood friendships, because the only good way to get foreign fruit was other people. You visited a friend's town, took some of their fruit home, planted it, and built an orchard, which means every fruit tree in your town that was not your native fruit was proof that you knew somebody. Wild World came out on the DS at the end of 2005. And for me, that game was my entire elementary life. It was on the bus, at the lunch table. It was two DS systems tilted toward each other, so the signal would do whatever we believed the signal would do. We traded fruit like it was a commodities market entirely by children. You could also go online with it. Wild World was one of the very first Nintendo games you could play over the internet at all. But first you had to exchange friend codes, which were 12-digit numbers you read out loud across a lunch table, one digit at a time, like you were defusing a bomb. All of that friction should have killed it. Instead, the friction was half the charm, because getting into a friend's town felt like being buzzed into a building. And once you were in, the game did not give you anything to do. No missions, no versus mode, you just hung out in each other's towns. You showed them your house, you took their fruit, you wrote on their bulletin board, and maybe left something rude, because you were 9. Nintendo clearly understood that visiting was the whole point of the feature, so much so that the biggest shop upgrade in the game literally required it. Tom Nook would not build his department store, Nookington's, unless a friend from another town came to your shop and bought something. The best version of your town could not be reached alone. I think that design decision says a lot about the game. City Folk on the Wii was the other kind of sharing. That one lived in the living room. Me and my little brother, one town, one family TV, taking turns being the person holding the remote. Same game, completely different flavor of together. Less trading across bus aisle, more arguing about who left trash on the beach. Both versions come down to the same discovery. A town you tend by yourself is a nice hobby. A town other people have stood in is a place. You arrive in a town with nothing. A raccoon named Tom Nook hands you the keys to a small house, then hands you the bill. 19,800 bells. You have 1,000 bells. So he puts you to work. You do a part-time job at his shop, deliveries, errands, planting flowers out front, and it knocks 1,400 bells off the debt. Then he releases you into the world. 17,500 bells in the hole, to figure out the rest. Here's the part that everyone forgets when they call Tom Nook a villain. The loan has no interest, no deadline, and no penalty. He never sends anyone after you, you can ignore the debt for literally a decade, and nothing happens. He sounds like the best landlord/bank ever. And the debt is load bearing, because the moment you owe money on the house, it stops being a house the game gave you and starts being your house. You caught the fish that paid for that roof, pay it off, and Nook shows up with an offer to make the place bigger, which means a new debt. And the ladder eventually climbs, past 1,000,000 bells total, and you climb it voluntarily, because every rung is yours. The whole town works like this. The shop starts as a shack called Nook's Cranny, and upgrades over months into a proper department store. Partly powered by your own buying and selling, the museum starts as a set of beautiful, embarrassingly empty rooms. An owl named Blathers will take every fish, bug, fossil, and painting you bring him, one donation at a time, for as long as it takes. Nobody fills a museum in a weekend. A museum is a long promise. Half the reason to keep playing in month 4 is that the fossil wing is almost done, and you're not going to abandon it now. New Leaf on the 3DS pushed all of this the furthest. That is the one where the town makes you the mayor, and suddenly you are choosing public works and setting town rules. I played a ton of New Leaf, and the honest truth is that I do not have one big story from it. It was just around, in my pocket, through all those years, which might be the most Animal Crossing legacy a game can have. None of these systems are exciting. Nothing here is exciting. It is equity. You do not love the town because it is impressive. You love it because you can point at almost anything in it and say, I did that. I want to pump the brakes on myself for a second here, because I have now spent several minutes describing pulling weeds with the reverence of a monk. The obvious criticism of Animal Crossing is completely true. Nothing happens. There's no ending. If you describe a session out loud, I checked my mail, I sold some fruit, a bird lectured me about a fossil, you sound like you're describing a retirement community. Plenty of people bounce off this series in a week, and I get it. It is also true that Nintendo has been selling roughly the same game since 2001. New coat of paint, one new system, same loop, and I bought it every single time at full price. I guess that's on me. And that sacred real-time clock that makes the game so great, you can just cheat it. You can change the console's date and skip ahead. A shortcut so common the community has a name for it, time traveling. Skip too far and you come back to Weeds and Bedhead. Like the town knows what you did. Some of what I feel about these games is not the games. It's being a kid on a bus with a DS in my hand. Nostalgia does a percentage of the lifting here, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. But the sameness is the part I've stopped holding against it. Because the series barely changing is exactly why I can do the thing no other series does for me. Each entry is the same house, and I just keep moving different years of my life into it. New Horizons came out in March 20th, 2020. 9 days earlier, the World Health Organization had declared a pandemic. That same week, the schools closed, the offices closed, and everybody I knew was suddenly home indefinitely, watching a number go up on the news. So the game about a small, safe town, the game about going outside, seeing your neighbors, and having pleasant little errands to do, launched at the exact moment the entire planet lost all three of those things. It sold 13.4 million copies in 6 weeks, is now sold about 50 million, which makes it the second best-selling Switch game ever. More copies than every other Animal Crossing game combined. And I know, quoting sales number is usually the least emotional thing you can do in a video, but I do not read the number as marketing. I read it as a head count of how many people needed somewhere to go. I was one of them, my roommate was another. That spring, the two of us basically lived on the couch, and the island lived on the TV, days at a time. The real world was shrunk to an apartment. And the news was the same bad day on repeat. And then there was the island, where time still moved, where the weather changed, where things were still errands and neighbors and small dumb goals. The game was the escape from being locked inside. Not an escape into adrenaline either, an escape into normal, into the exact boring day the world had just confiscated. People held graduations on their islands, birthday parties, there were weddings in that game. That actually happened. In thousands of living rooms, and none of us even found it strange at the time. And I keep coming back to the guy who started this all. Katsuya Uguchi built Animal Crossing because he moved to a new city at 21 and missed his family and friends. So much that he tried to put that feeling of them into a game. A game about family, friendship, and community, built by someone who was missing all three. 19 years later, 50 million people got locked in their homes, missing everyone. And his game was sitting right there. The game saves are still out there. That is where this started. And the longer I sit with it, the less sad I find it. Because Animal Crossing towns do not reset. Nobody's town rolls the credits and clears the board. Whatever you built is still built. The museum is exactly as you left it. The weeds mean time kept passing, and time kept passing because, as far as the game is concerned, you still live there. You're not a former player. You are a neighbor who has been away. Most games do not notice you. You stop playing and nothing anywhere changes. This one counts the days. And if you go back, actually go back, dig the memory card out of the drawer, the town does not meet you with a game over. You squish some roaches, you pull the weeds, your mailbox is jammed with old letters, somebody moved away without saying goodbye, and somebody else is still there, and ask where you've been. The town takes you back. It just wants to talk about the absence first, like anyone would. I have played games of 100 times the budget. Games engineered by professionals to be unforgettable. And most of them slide through me. The series asks for 20 minutes of chores a day, and has a permanent address in my head. It never asks me to save the world. It asks me to show up, water the flowers, check the mail, say hi to the neighbors. And if you do that enough times, over enough years, what you end up with is not a high score. It is a place you can miss. And somewhere out there, it's getting dark in one of my towns right now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. I've noticed a majority of you aren't subscribed to my channel, which is a-okay, but it really does help me out. Leave a comment with whichever villager you still think about, what your favorite Animal Crossing game is, and just anything else you want to talk about. I really appreciate it. Thank you again. I'll see you next time.